We always appreciate you carving time to join us in the trenches with Dave Latham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, as always, coming to you from our outstanding studios. And want to tell you, you're smart to join us because we have an outstanding guest, Christian Sarkisian. He's a member of the personnel scouting department with the Cincinnati Bengals, and he does a heck of a job. You know, he's got his area of responsibility. They've got different regions of the country, and Christian Sarkisian covers his like a glove on a hand. And relationships are key. You build relationships with coaches, with athletic directors that are going to be invaluable. And Christian Sarkisian, he identified Shamar Stewart as a freshman, built a relationship with him, built a relationship with the people that were coaching Shamar Stewart, and it has paid off. He talks about that draft pick, talks about every other draft pick, 6 draft picks Cincinnati Bengals had on draft day, and importantly, talks about the process and everything that went along with getting ready to select those draft picks. And some people are like, we were okay with what they did, but not necessarily with how they did it. Well, these guys, they deep dive into every single selection, and I feel confident they know what they're talking about when they made these 6 picks. Really do appreciate you taking time to join us in the trenches with Dave Latham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, as always, coming to you from the studio that they provide for us as well. And we're talking National Football League draft 2025 style. And the Cincinnati Bengals had 6 selections in the NFL draft, college free agency as well. We can't really get into this real deep dive specifics of that because those players are still in the process of being solidified, offers, all that sort of thing. But we want to focus on the 6 draft selections that the Cincinnati Bengals made in the 2025 with Christian Sarkisian, who is a part of the Bengals personnel scouting department area that does such a phenomenal job. I mean, you guys, Christian, man, the work that you do, the time that you spend on the road, the time that you spend away from your family, the commitment to the Cincinnati Bengals organization, the commitment to the fans of the Cincinnati Bengals organization, it's extraordinary. I mean, you guys are unsung heroes. You really are.
Yeah, we're all passionate about football. We're all passionate about this place, and we feel like we've been close for a few years now, and we're just trying to get back to getting over the hump. And our main goal is to build that championship caliber roster and attack it as many ways as we can. So we really feel like throughout this offseason, we've done a good job retaining the guys that we've needed to retain and adding the guys that we've deemed necessary.
Yeah, I mean, you really have. You've retained, basically extended your quarterback, Joe Burrow, who's as good as there is in the National Football League. Jamar Chase, re-signed Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki. I mean, offensively, you got a lot of weapons now. I mean, you guys can hurt people offensively in a bunch of different ways. And I know that you want to improve things defensively and really offensively in the interior of the offensive line, defensively the interior of the defensive line were 2 areas that were obviously targeted for improvement. Talk about when you go and evaluate a draft class. You're done with free agency. You're evaluating a draft class. When does that process start? Take us through how long that process takes.
Sure. So really, this week post-draft, you're catching your breath, but throughout May, you're ramping up and you're paying attention to, this upcoming class's tape based on the last season, right? So all the guys who are rising into that draft eligible year for them. So you start mulling over the list and you start identifying the guys who you're going to have to really spend a lot of time on, prioritizing the guys that you're going to want to go see in person, twice, 3 times throughout the year. Obviously, you're going to hit all these big schools at least once, but you start building kind of your priority list for planning out multiple stops and multiple games. And you're doing that really in May, and you're dialing in on all your summer tape, obviously throughout the summer. So that's really when it starts. And you're right. I mean, it goes throughout, until April, when we really are in that last round of meetings, where we're kind of flushing everything out and really stacking the board. And luckily for us in our structure, we all live in Cincinnati, which is unique throughout the NFL. There's a lot of benefits to that. One being, throughout the season, we're all back here in Cincinnati on Monday mornings to be part of weekly post-game and pre-game meetings. And then you go out to the road throughout that regular season, and you go to all your school visits. But being part of those conversations, being part of all the draft meetings, each round, every meeting, where some teams are set up where you might be in only a few days for those meetings, we really see the whole board. So when April comes around, we're able to fully add in all of our thoughts throughout the whole board. And it's beneficial when you get to the cross-checking stage, which typically comes later on towards the end of the regular season, where we start cross-checking other guys from outside of your area. It just makes those conversations a little bit fuller and a little bit more complete. You add in some new opinions, and then that all goes along with the coaches. So the whole picture really goes back from the spring up until April, when all those conversations and stacking of the board really starts.
Man, it's pretty impressive the way the Cincinnati Bengals organizationally do that. Everybody has a voice. I mean, everybody's got opinions on players that they've seen, and everybody's voice is listened to. I mean, it's everybody is a component in the final decision-making process. And as you mentioned, that's not necessarily, the case with respect to other organizations. How unique is it you guys are part of? Even during the season, you talked about hearing what they're going to be thinking about in terms of game planning, offensively, defensively, the type of players that they've got, things that our players can do to take advantage of the opponent's weaknesses, and then you're okay. We've got strengths here, maybe a little deficient here. How unique is it that being part of that with the coaches and their process, the organization in terms of personnel and the scouting department and their process, all of that commingling like that, is that unique around the league?
Yeah, and I think it's really unique, and I think it ties back to how Duke and the family want to structure their personnel department in terms of having all of your evaluators live in your home city and work on a day-to-day basis. When you're not out on the road, you're all under the same roof in the facility here. So that only breeds more and more conversation, more communication. That's within us. That's with the coaches and passing, even down to, when you're in the cafeteria, or even for us, I would say that we benefit from doing college and pro, but then also just being around so much. You get to watch practice tape more easily. You get to watch live views of practice. And all of that's really important, especially when you're assessing the character makeup of your locker room, just seeing how guys, get along with each other, things as basic as that, right? This is a people business at the end of the day. So seeing how these people work with each other, seeing, what relationships are most beneficial that drive some development, stuff like that. It's all really important. And I think that it's a huge benefit of the structure that Duke has in place here.
So when you're looking at big picture in terms of the draft, a guy like Shamar Stewart, the relationships that you build when you're out on the road, and you've been out on the road for the Cincinnati Bengals for a few years now, and you're a guy that does his job exceptionally well, and you're going to go out and you're going to build relationships, and some of these relationships that you've built are extremely strong, and they feel comfortable, sharing information with you because they know the type of person you are and the type of work you do and the job you do. When did you find out, or when were you tipped off about the excellence of Shamar Stewart?
So with Shamar, it really goes back to when I was going through there for McKinley in the fall of 23, when I really started to also dial in on Shamar Stewart. That's one thing that when you have these strong relationships with different people at schools, you can bring up guys that might be a little forecasting. But obviously you do that very respectfully. And because now with the transfer portal, you're never trying to get into those waters, but just more so along the lines of, hey, what are your impressions of this guy when you're that early on in the stage? So at Texas A&M specifically, going through the whole process with McKinley really tied me in closely with Coach Elijah Robinson, who's a great defensive line coach down there. And then also there's some people in the personnel department that I've gotten to know a little bit more, as well as so this was my 7th draft on the road with the Bengals. Previous to that, I was at Northwestern. One of the coaches there, an offensive line coach, Coach Adam Cushing, who then went on to be the head guy at Eastern Illinois, O-line coach at Duke with Cody Barton when he was there. Or not Cody Barton, excuse me. I'm forgetting the guy's name. Mason, what was it? Tampa Bay took him. He's their starting center from Duke. Anyways.
I'm cramping too.
Yeah. Anyways, Coach Adam Cushing, he and I worked together. So him being at Texas A&M, I had a lot of really strong sources within the building, and then also with outside of the building, in their academics department, they have some great people there that you can really tie into. And then as well as there's some people there that have long-standing media companies that help out with that football program, and just dialing into them. And they, a lot of them are former players, stuff like that. So dialing in and just having those longer conversations with all sorts of people who touch the program, and really dialing in on kind of the full 360 of these guys. So that was kind of the process with learning about Shamar.
How big a factor is Shamar? You mentioned McKinley Jackson. So Shamar comes to Cincinnati. He's got a teammate, McKinley Jackson, who's already been through a year with the organization, can help Shamar, in terms of answering questions that he might have, not that he's fearful of anything, but just informing him of things. Same thing with Dylan Fairchild, being a teammate of Mims when they were both at Georgia. And when you're not only a teammate, but a teammate at the same position group that you played next to, that you already have an idea of how that guy plays, how big a plus is that for these young guys to come into an organization in their position group with some familiarity like that?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, in Lap, that question can be asked to you as well as a former player who played at a really high level here. I mean, think about it. If you had a guy, and these guys are even 21 years old, right? A guy like Shamar. So imagine being 21 years old, coming to a new city, learning a whole new defense, all these new things for you, having someone who you trust and you already have that relationship with it. It's hard to measure something that impactful. I think that we've seen the benefit of those sort of relationships unfold really across during my time here. So it's never a negative in that regard. And also it's you dial in a little bit more on the character and the just the makeup of the person when you're able to have those conversations and add that layer into your overall background evaluation.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic for sure. Shamar, when you did a deep dive into him, not just his raw athletic ability. I mean, the guy is a genetic marvel. There's no question about it. 4'5", 940, 40-inch vertical, 10-foot, 11-inch broad jump. I mean, those are defensive back numbers for crying out loud in a big, strong, physical defensive lineman's body. Those are there for everybody to see, and you can see how it translates on tape. How do you do a deep dive into the guy's character, personality, that type of thing with people, other people?
It's all conversational. It's you really got to spend the time, put in the face time with these people, build a level of trust and respect, just typical relationship building. And these conversations, it's never something that's like an interview, right? Like you're not sitting down to interview these sources. It's an open flowing conversation, and you're picking up, everything that they're saying. And then some of the things that maybe their nonverbal communication is also giving you the answers to. You're really paying attention to kind of how everything fits together. It's all a puzzle, right? You just got to put together the pieces. So and when a couple things don't line up together, you spend a little bit more time and you talk that through until you flush it all out, and you really feel confident and convicted in the work that you've done, the conversations that you've had. And then, another huge major part of that is, the combine interview. And a guy like Shamar, he absolutely knocked out our combine interview, knocked it out of the park. And you leave that feeling really confident in the work that you've done. When there aren't any surprises, when everything lines up with your reporting, it's easy to gain a level of confidence leaving that sort of a meeting.
When you look at all the draft picks, I mean, a couple of things that jump out at me. 3 or 6 picks were captains, and then you go into your college free agents, more captains. I mean, you selected some guys that are obvious leaders, high character, high football character guys. That seems to be a universal scenario. How important is that when you guys are stacking your board?
Yeah, it just helps add to conviction, right? Like, it's one of those things where when you meet a guy and you get to know a guy a little more, you can really feel if he's kind of got that it factor. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for guys who you've evaluated their traits and all their positives that you can do on the field. And then to add in the projection piece, yeah, that's how he's getting used in some of the scheme he's playing in, and the areas that he needs to get better at. Are they something where he can really hone his craft and get better at that or not? And then you add in the portions of what are the motivating factors? How passionate is this guy about football? Is his life really distracting outside of football? Is it something where he can focus? Is it something where he has a structure surrounding him to allow himself to develop at the rate that we need him to? So that's really why you're doing all the character work, is because, again, it is a people business. And the large part of projecting a guy is really what's the makeup of the guy.
No doubt. So the other thing, the leadership thing and the character was something that hit me when looking at all the draft picks. The other thing, position versatility. I mean, every single player that you guys, have decided to choose, man, they can do more than one thing for you. I mean, how important was the position versatility aspect of it in the evaluation?
I think that's something that you're always valuing, especially when the roster sits at 53 and then it goes lower when you're looking at active game day roster. You're always looking for that versatility. It's such a large component, and really in today's advanced football, there's so much at play that is given away depending upon your personnel groupings. So the more versatile you can be based on your personnel groupings it's really invaluable for a coordinator. To get into scheme specifics, I'd defer to Coach Golden and Coach Pitcher.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it kind of unlocks the full toolbox, the full toolbox that you have at your disposal.
The other thing that particularly with respect to Shamar, back to him, I'm getting blasted by fans. 39 pressures, just a sack and a half. How the hell does that happen? What about that? How do you explain that? This and that.
Well, if I can walk through there and tell you about how special that defensive line room is, I can promise you that SEC offensive coordinators know that as well.
Right.
It was one of those things where when you watch Texas A&M, especially this year with all those guys getting drafted early, it was something, the ball was coming out quick, right? That's one component of it. Another component is they're moving Shamar around a lot from the inside to the outside. And really, I mean, the guy is winning. He's causing a lot of disruption. He's causing quarterbacks to move around and run right into the arms of these other guys. He's the leading pressure generator on the best defensive line in the SEC. I think that is a lot of production. We could get here and talk through all of the stuff in the run game too, but I think most simply put, PFF grading is what it is, but those PFF graders put him in the top 5 for run defense as well. The kid is sure, it might not be that sack category, but if you were to measure just havoc creation, this kid is right up there. And it's pretty special to watch. There's a few plays that really stick out to you, in that South Carolina game. I think it was like they were running like a jet sweep, kind of like a modified jet sweep. He beats a block, makes probably the most violent play I saw all year. I think he got waved off because of penalty that was away from that. But that was a special play. And in the Arkansas game, he blows up a read option, causes a forced fumble. I was at that game live. That was a great game just to watch all these defensive linemen at, because both schools had really good defensive linemen. And to me, Shamar Stewart in that setting really stuck out amongst the group of guys. You could go game by game, and that's something that also really sticks out to you too. It's not just something where it's a couple games he has these monster games, right? It's week in and week out. The guy is causing consistent disruption, havoc, chaos across the line of scrimmage. And then the other thing too, which is phenomenal, I think it was a Florida game. There was a screen and you could see him get out there in pursuit, and the kid his play speed and that's something where you dial in when you watch the tape. I'd love to have the conversation with you. His play speed to me looks a lot faster than even his 40 time. When the guy's in pursuit, he looks like a safety running downhill. So you're getting this really versatile weapon that is just 21 years old, and we could sit here and talk about the raw traits, talk about the upside, but that would be doing a disservice to really watching the tape. I know there's a lot of people out there that will form a decision just based off the stat sheet, but anyone who's really watched the tape, and you brought up the fans writing in and everything to you. There's plenty of Twitter scouts out there, but really the people who watch the tape, who at least I respect, are guys who are former players who have come out and made statements in Shamar's support. Those are more the opinions that really resonate with me, at least, if that gives any fan base some comfort. You can't watch the guy's tape and not come away impressed.
Man, bingo. And you just hit on, I talked about it a little earlier in another podcast I did earlier today. David Pollock has come out and said, man, you look at this guy, this guy's tape is like, he's the real deal. I mean, this guy belongs where he was selected, maybe even selected even higher. I mean, Pollock is definitely a fan. And David Pollock, dude, that guy was a versatile, effective football player, defensive lineman, could play linebacker, and of course, the neck injury curtailed his career. But in my opinion, when I look at him, the thing that jumps out at me is a word that you use, disrupt. And if there was a disruption stat, I mean, there's sacks, there's tackle for loss, but a disruption stat, he'd lead the nation with disruption stats. I mean, he is, and they don't single block him. They double him. They have a back to pick him up if he beats the double. I mean, the guy on that defense, against that defensive line, like you're talking about, they get good players everywhere. He's the guy that they're doubling.
Correct. And that's something that the more and more people you talk about, the more and more people you talk to, you learn all that, and then you see it when you're watching the tape. And then the other thing that I have to highlight as well is, when all these guys and all the offense, there were really good offensive and defensive linemen in this draft class. And the Senior Bowl did a really good job of collecting those guys. This guy left a wake of destruction to a point where he was able to leave early. And if you would have talked to everyone who was there, that Friday of the Senior Bowl week, they would have said Shamar Stewart won the week. And he is, he looks like a top 10 pick. So it was something where in these everything that had a competitive element in the offseason, this kid aced.
And honestly, I remember playing in the Senior Bowl, and you get geeked up for that stuff. I mean, the interior, when offense and defensive linemen go against each other, be it half line drill in the running game or pass protection, or whatever. I mean, that's some serious stuff there, because you're being watched. There are people everywhere. There's an eye in the sky. You want to do well against the competition that's the best in the country, and for him to the wake of destruction that you described, to handle it like that, that's a hell of a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, and again, the most important aspect is the tape, and you watch the tape and you're excited. That's if I could sum it up, that's what I would sum it up as.
So is he a pretty good learner, Christian? Is he a guy? Did the coaches say he's a guy that picks ideas and schematics up quickly?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that shows in all of the different alignment that he had. And then really when you even dive in further into the kid's general intelligence and his ability to learn, because I want to make sure that I'm getting this correct. This kid was extremely, extremely high academically in terms of his GPA. It was over 3.0 GPA. And the kid was taking financial literacy courses and really forward-thinking courses about setting up himself, and that's something where when it comes to projecting a guy's development and all that, you just feel secure having that additional information.
All right, so I'm all in. I'm all in on Shamar Stewart. Let's bingo. That dog will hunt right there.
Yep.
So let's talk about the second pick of the draft, Demetrius Knight Jr.
Yep.
Here's a guy, interesting athlete as well. 6'2", like what, about 235, 240 kind of deal, I guess.
Yep. Yes, that's correct.
Former quarterback. So obviously he rushed for over 1,000, threw for over 1,000 in the same season as a quarterback. So that tells you something right there from his ability as a football player and the athletic prowess to do so. But it seems like he's got that football IQ, where you got a guy now at the linebacker position that's looking at formations, looking at things that as a quarterback, tips that he can see that, that, hey man, I sense this is coming, and his ability to take command of the huddle. That's what he had to do as a quarterback. That's what he has to do as an inside linebacker. And then when he's at the line of scrimmage, oh man, I understand this formation. I understand what they're trying to do here. Get people lined up right. If they go in motion and change the strength of the formation or window dress it somehow, I got to switch. I got to make a change here and he can handle all that stuff both physically and mentally, can he?
Yeah, yes, exactly. And one thing that really jumps out about really both linebackers we took, I come from a family of linebackers that played at a Hall of Fame level, and I learned from Pat Fitzgerald during my time at Northwestern, who is also a collegiate Hall of Fame level linebacker, and really the linebacker position to me was always taught as, you're looking for a guy who can get from A to C without knowing where B is. And that's both these guys can do that extremely effectively. They're both excellent communicators, and you're right on the size and the athleticism for both of them. They fit the mold of exactly what you're looking for. And again, hitting on the versatility, hitting on all 4-down value for those guys. And again, we really like some of our defense. We really like all of our defensive pieces. These young guys that we really feel good about. I think something that is great is just adding another adept communicator. I think the more and more that of those guys you can add, you'll get more guys playing on a string, and that's what makes NFL defenses most effective.
Let's touch on Fairchild. We've already talked about him fairly extensively, but when I look at guys, potential big impact guys in terms of snaps, Stewart, obviously. I mean, the guy's versatility is incredible. Now, Knight, I mean, hearing good things about him with his versatility and not necessarily all these guys as starters, but packages and sub packages or whatever. And then, okay, I'm handling this package. Give me more, and increase that that contribution. I see almost everybody you drafted being able to do that. Fairchild, I think, has a chance to line up, and win a starting job in the offensive line. And looking at him, man, the thing, Joe Burrow, that's an asset that not many teams in the NFL have, and the Bengals do. You want to protect that asset. This guy, man, he firms a pocket up. I mean, there's no pushing the interior of the offensive line back into Joe Burrow's face. I mean, it is firm. He has great lateral movement, quickness. He's got, quick hands, hand placement inside the framework of the body. He'll stagger. I like this guy. I think this guy is going to be a top shelf pass protector.
Oh, absolutely. And some of the core things you need to be a pass protector in terms of strength and ballast and all that, he's got that in flying colors. We believe that he's an ascending player, and we feel really good about that. We feel really good about the situation that he's coming into in terms for creating a competitive environment for him, and having a guy like Mims who can kind of guide him along throughout the way, having a guy like Ted who can really kind of tell him what he needs to be told. I think there's we really got a really important piece of the puzzle as talent evaluators and helping in this roster construction. Job 1A is keeping 9 vertical. So that is a major pickup for us. And it's something where when you feel confident about it, go get your guy.
When I saw he was an undefeated high school wrestler for 2 years, I thought, oh boy, I'm thinking Tim Crumry could not get that son of a gun off his feet. I mean, his balance, his hip flexibility, his core strength that you talk about. If he did get off balance a little bit, that sucker could recover and regain that balance so quickly, and watching this guy, he's kind of like that. He almost invites the in tight stuff, and he's gonna like move you around a little bit.
Yeah, he's an inside fighter. He feels that momentum shift really quickly throughout his body, and he has the twitch and the strength to quickly correct and recover.
I like that twitch and strength to recover. He's got a lot going for him. How about him from a mental capacity standpoint? Is he a pretty sharp cat as well?
Yeah, he is. And that's something where, we spent a lot of time, or our offensive line coaches spent a lot of time with him. They give those guys an assessment when they meet with them, and it was something where he aced it, and we all felt really comfortable with it. And then again, using teammates as resources as well when you're building these character profiles, everything married up from what the coaches were saying, what from the support staff members were saying, and from what we were getting from guys who lined up with him as well.
The other thing that people are saying about him, and it probably comes from the wrestling aspect of it, that, oh man, the dude's a dog. And that's from a positive standpoint. I mean, like you mentioned, he's going to fight you till the end. There's no quitting the guy. He's going to play from snap to whistle and maybe a little bit after whistle, but not from a penalty standpoint. But he's going to try to impose his will on you. That's the deal, right?
Well, absolutely. And one thing that a guy has to love at that position is clanging and banging. And that's, essentially on the board drill like you guys used to do. But another huge component of that is also in the weight room. And, this guy is got the right level of meathead to him and lap just from that point of view. I think when you see this guy, rocking his cutoff, walking throughout the weight room, you'll really have an added level of appreciation for him.
I love it, man. He's the weight room guy, huh?
Yeah, big time.
I love it.
Big time.
I'm watching him. I'm very impressed. It all starts with your feet, ends with your hands on almost any athletic endeavor, and whether you're shooting a basketball, hitting a baseball, whatever it is. And offensive line plays same way. I mean, I look at him, his feet are good. He's got that lateral quickness, his hands, his hand placement. I mean, he's got excellent hands. and they're inside the framework of the body. And when he jams people, I mean, when he stuns them, he rocks those guys, man. He stops them.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's something, go back to the tape and it jumps out at you, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be fun to watch that guy. And, I feel like we're building something that'll be really fun for a guy like you who appreciates it, who to watch practice during camp and watch those one-on-one battles and all that.
Can't wait.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun when that gets thrown into the fold.
All right, so let's talk about Barrett Carter. Another guy, 3-down linebacker. I mean, this guy's, he's impressive to say the least. Butkus Award finalist. You talk about a leader. He's excellent in that regard. 3-down player. He's been the center of the huddle for 3 years. The quarterback of the huddle for 3 years. Clemson is a little sophisticated in some of their coverage stuff, and he does a great job of that. I mean, he's a lot is asked of him mentally and physically, and he answers the bell, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does, and you can kind of trace all this stuff back, right? So, his early years at Clemson, he was under Brent Venables, and that guy got nothing but a ton of respect for him as a head coach, and at Oklahoma, somewhere where I go through now, he demands a lot of that position, and you can tell that this guy has been shaped by BV in the best ways in that regard, and Lap, I'd be remiss if I didn't stop you when you said 3-down value. This guy's got true 4-down value. He will be an ace for him as well.
Yeah, special teams extraordinaire with that kind of athletic ability.
Yeah, and it's back to the versatility, right? Like really, when you're thinking about that linebacker room too, it's not only do your starters have to be versatile, but really your third, your fourth, your fifth, your sixth, all the way down throughout your whole roster, and especially as you're looking at the 90-man roster, you need as many versatile guys who can do as many different roles, because that position is one of the more unique positions just throughout NFL defenses and special teams, where a lot is required of those guys.
Now, was he a guy that even though he, was ascended to this leadership and important position with his football team, he was still covering kickoffs and punts and stuff? He's still that guy?
Oh yeah. He was an impact player. He has that throughout his career.
Wow. That's great. Love guys like that. All right, so let's talk about big old horse, Jaylen Rivers. Man, yeah. This dude's big, 6'6", 320. His pass protection grades, his pass set grades, Pro Football Focus, pretty damn strong. It looks like he's got position versatility. He can play guard and tackle for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And he has taken snaps inside before too. And Lap, think about it. If you had 35+ inch arms, you might still be playing, right? So, this guy, he's got everything you want. And he's another one where the intelligence checks out. I mean, there were multiple games where he had 20+ snaps at multiple positions, which wow. you really don't see that these days anymore. I know that was more popular, previously, but you don't really get to see that much anymore. And it speaks to that guy, and to do it for Mario Cristobal, an offensive line guru type, that's extremely impressive. That requires a high level of trust.
So with 35-inch arms, he had to have a wingspan of over 80, right?
Oh yeah. Here, I'll pull up the exact number for you.
I mean, that's like
83 and 7, so near 84, and it puts him at the third biggest wingspan in the class.
Oh my gosh, man!
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm liking this guy more and more now. That's like a condor, man. He's something else. He'll lock people when he locks people out there. They're about 4 yards away from him, man.
That's right. It's something that. If it's not clear, it should be. We value size over here, especially on that offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, boy, did you get bigger and more athletic to boot? It's like
absolutely
the guys you drafted, they're not a bunch of stiffs. These guys are damn good athletes. Definitely. And then finally, let's talk about athlete. Let's talk about Taj Brooks. I mean,
Yeah, it's easy to talk about Taj, man. He's one of my favorites.
There you go.
You know, one of the guys that throughout my my 7 drafts, he sticks out in a lot of different ways. This is a guy where
Wow.
the production, every opportunity he's had, he's been nothing but productive. He came back to school, and part of that was really to work with that track coach over at Texas Tech to really dial in on his speed and get even faster and faster. He plays at around 230. He's got violent, it's a guy that you'll appreciate as an interior offensive lineman, having a guy like that behind you who's looking to get in the mix and looking to play rough and tumble and pass protection. And just calling him a pass protection back would be selling him short. Again, 2 1,500-yard seasons back to back. This year, he only added to his receiving yards. He's got reliable hands. He's a leader there, face of the program type of kid. He's really easy to talk to. I remember interviewing him at the Shrine game, and you kind of left that kind of blown away with just, hey, this kid is truly the full package. And we're really lucky here where Coach Justin Hill, he had this kid committed to him. So when it was, going through his background report and hearing about the structure that this kid comes from and the way he was raised and the type of young man he's been his whole life. And when Coach Hill can speak directly to that as well, we were lucky that he was there. It was very reminiscent to Chase Brown when I was going through Illinois. Kind of, we had much higher grades than where he was available to us, and at that point you're running to the podium with his name. Because you see the immediate impact he has on the field and in the locker room.
It's amazing. The average fan, or even the high level fan, or other people around the league, I mean, unless they do a deep dive, they don't realize the additional information you have of current players that are former teammates of these potential picks that you're drafting, and then a coach who had a prior relationship with another player you're potentially drafting. I mean, that kind of information, that kind of intel is invaluable, right?
Yeah, it's a small world, right? It's football is a very, very small world. So everyone knows somebody.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, I look at this dude. I love him, like you said, 5'10", 230. I mean, he runs you over. But then, like Paul Brown always said, run to daylight. He can make you miss and run to daylight. I mean, he can do that. I mean, he had 98 missed tackles. I mean,
yeah.
That's crazy.
So you speak on obviously the yardage, and then you speak on the durability throughout all the carries, because he had a ton of carries. But then you also look at the percent, not just the amount, because when you're talking about that many carries, you got to look at percentages. You look at the percentages of explosive and efficient runs. He's in the top 5 of the class in that level. Missed tackles, all that stuff as well. It's really impressive just the way this kid moves around. And if you're looking for a specific metric, he had the fastest short shuttle in the class as well for the position. Wow. So he's got that 230-pound body, but man, he's kind of like that big body jitterbug a little bit.
Thing I like about him, 27 touchdowns. So the sucker finishes, runs, scores. And as a former lineman, you talked about it, is blitz pickup. I mean, when you got a guy who sticks his nose right in the middle of a linebacker's chest, and does it willingly and enjoys it, I want that dude in my huddle, man.
Well, and the other great thing that you love to see when you're looking at pass protecting running backs is, all right, does he understand angles? And all that? And this kid, it's pretty special how well he understands angles and in pass protection, as well as in route running, as well as in just as a ball carrier. And something that you'll appreciate, Lap, is he is the type of back when he's going out to chip, he's looking for a rib cage. He's looking for that exposed rib cage to try to get in there and make a little noise. Yeah, it's kind of try to add up all those body shots to slow the guy down. So he's well aware of it, and he takes advantage of it.
Oh man, defensive ends hate that, don't they? I mean, get that little cartilage shot between those ribs, man. It's like, Yeah, everybody's looking for a spare rib.
Yep.
Good stuff. I'll tell you what. Give me a quick overview. We don't have time to go over every college free agent, and I know until they actually, we get further along in the process, you can't get real specific. But from a general standpoint, how happy are you with some of the college free agents that you were able to get a commitment from?
Sure. Without speaking on any specifics, you feel like you got a couple draft picks, and that's as much as I can really get into on that.
Right.
Those contracts are signed.
Sure.
But no, we feel very good about the class. Really excited. I think that the class as a whole will be a memorable class. So very excited in that regard, and some of the trade scenarios that we played out included some of those late round draft pick additions that we could have got, but I think that we ended up getting those because of the way that we structured and we attacked the undrafted board, especially in a year where you have so many 6-year players and all those COVID guys finally have to come out and made it for much deeper class, and we were able to capitalize on it through some of the strategic advantages that we feel like we have.
I'm not going to ask you for any comment, but I'm just going to hit a couple of. I mean, Howard Crush, you kidding me? This kid from Notre Dame, hell of a player, hell of a leader. Eric Gregory, defensive tackle, Arkansas. Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State, center. What? I mean, come on now. This guy, a lot of people had probably in the 5th round, worst case scenario. You got Caleb Etienne from BYU, this offensive talent. That dude, you guys, as usual, did a hell of a job on a round by round basis, and then when things were over, get on the horn and try to get commitments out of these young men. How difficult is that? I guess from a general standpoint, what's that like? How big a zoo is that when the draft ends?
It is zoo is a word you could definitely use, but no, we've been together long enough where it's become a lot more efficient, much more organized. We have involved more of our support staff in Sam Francis and Tyler Gross and making that as an efficient and efficient process as possible. So, we were able to pull it off,
No doubt.
As best as I could put it.
All I can say is, hell of a job.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Sarkisian, hell of a job.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again.
You guys should go out and celebrate. Crack an adult beverage or two.
Yeah. Good, clean American fun, right?
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure. With all the hours you put in, though, you're probably already ahead of the game on 2026 right now, aren't you? I mean, you guys never take a break.
And no, I can promise you here that we're all in here right now, and we're all doing what we need to be doing right now.
Well, once again, Christian Sarkisian and your cohorts, excellent effort, my man. I'm telling you guys, I'm excited to see what you added to this football team. I think that this team's got a great shot to be a playoff team and maybe more. Can't wait for training camp.
Yeah, time to sharpen up the horns, right?
That's exactly right. Look forward to seeing you, my man.
Yes, sir. See you around, Lat.
You got it, sir. Dave Latham here. While games are over for the season, there's no off-season for In the Trenches with Dave Latham or First Star Logistics. First Star Logistics gave away great prizes during the season, which will continue with exclusive content in the First Star Media Group YouTube channel. So please, do me a favor. Subscribe to In the Trenches, hit the like button, and visit the First Star Media Group YouTube channel for exclusive content and special giveaways.